Hey there, everybody. It's Zane once again with another episode of Quick and Easy Builds. So, in today's episode, I'm making a stick hut. Trying to make it look kind of like a more shamanistic or, I don't know, just very basic kind of hut that about anyone or anything living out in the forest could put together. Um, Today's materials include mostly sticks that I collected out of my front yard, but additionally some hot glue and a couple of little spare plastic bits that are entirely optional. So this might not be something that most people are familiar with, but when you're trying to construct some sort of wooden structure, you want to make sure that the pieces supporting the weight have a Y split on the end. And what that means is so the branch splits off in two different directions and makes a Y shape. This allows us to rest other branches in that Y shape and gives us things like the frame above where I have the door currently on the build. That being said, however, you will find that this section of the build is probably the most tedious, as you just will repeatedly have to hot glue sticks onto the base over and over and over. And who knows, you maybe even run out of sticks like I did about 3 or 4 times and have to go and get more. If you're paying close attention at this part, you can see I have added 2 of the bits that I previously mentioned. First, a small antler-like horn head or something above the front door, and then oxen-like horns at the very top on the longest stick. These were just meant to kind of catch the eye. Before I would move on to spray painting this piece, I would glue on a few more bits. None of them necessary, though. After letting the piece dry with a fresh layer of spray paint, I began to paint all the little exterior bits. I started with the mostly the bone structures, so the horns and the antlers, and a couple of large fangs or teeth that I had put in front of the door, along with a couple of fangs that were also hanging off of the oxen horns themselves. After the teeth and antlers were done, I would move on to base coating a few bits that were on the outside. These were like a dais and some sort of little like feather adornment. I painted them gray, but I would paint them gold later. After painting the bits, I decided I didn't really like how the hot glue made the structure look. It kind of looked just really lazy, really haphazard, and I didn't like it. So I decided to cover it with a basing material that I made out of glue, a little bit of paint, some fake sand, and a couple of chunks of cork made to look like rocks. The material is pretty gravelly, and it very much achieved the effect I wanted. With all the basing medium placed, I then began to paint the floor of the hut itself. I just wanted a basic kind of sandy, tannish color, just to make it look like that the area was very flat but still somewhat kept clean, even though the people in there maybe aren't the cleanest. Even though I had finished coloring the floor on the inside, I decided to dry brush the outside of the hut itself with a little bit of a dark brown dry brushing paint. And I would dry brush the same color over the sticks as well, just to make everything kind of blend a little bit nicer. When the dry brushing was finished, I returned to normal wet brush painting, and I proceeded to paint the feathers on top of the strange little piece that I would later be painting gold. I started with an orange, but then made them yellow and green as well. After painting all the little feathers, I would then go and paint all the little leather strips that were holding like the fangs and the shrunken heads in place. And I would paint those all a nice dark brown just to make them look like leather. Then here we are painting all the shrunken heads and their hair. And then lastly, we finally start to paint the gold on the dais and the feather plumage piece. When I finally decide that the color looks about right, I go around touching up the last few pieces that need to be colored, like the little hooks, and then just the tips of the feathers, before I finally add the wash to the whole piece to kind of soak in the color and bring out some of the shadows. Okay, we're back at the main table, and here I have the completed stick hut. I really liked this build. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out for the most part. My one thing I would change, I guess, if I were to remake this, is I would make the walls a little thicker, just you can kind of see through them a little too well. But other than that, I really like this. I especially love the little shrunken head pieces here and here. All of my models fit pretty well in it, except for, of course, the really big ones. But even this dude on a mount right here fits nice inside. Let's see, this kind of larger dude fits pretty well back there too. Then even a model with a more normal size base. Perfect. I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Basing material is nice and solid. The sticks just about the right color I wanted. And the bones look like they've been there at least for a little while. They're not like too bright, I guess. I kind of tried to make them look like they were a little dirty. Well, this has been Zane with Maitri Multimedia Gaming, and thank you for joining me in this episode of Quick and Easy Builds Stick Hut. I hope y'all enjoy plenty of videos to come in the future, and have a good one.